Well, good morning. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, joined by my counterpart today, Mr. Leo Kane.
Not only am I a counterpart, I am the 8 o'clock guest.
You're the star of the show in the 8 o'clock hour. Actually, this is the back part. We're going to rearrange the outline a little bit. This is a great place to start going into it. And in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to chat about common issues found on home inspections. But before we do that, we're going to chat a little bit about the storms and that in a moment. And then before we dive into that, this year, Tampa slated to be the home of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's coming in February. I guess they're selling, I learned last night, they're only selling 25% of the tickets they normally sell, and they're selling them at 4 times the price to make the same amount of money.
That is so ridiculous. I wondered how they were figuring all that out.
They'll make their money. The downside to that, though, is you're going to have 25% of the people you would normally be in that stadium, so there's actually going to be less overflow into the town. I mean, people will still flood Tampa, but there'll be less people flooding Tampa than normal.
It's not going to be what they had anticipated, I'm sure, when it was planned to come here, 8 years ago? I think that's how far in advance they planned it. So the interesting thing, this is actually in front of, I guess, who would it be that would actually change? It's with the city of Tampa. There right now, currently, alcohol on Sundays can't be sold before 11 a.m. And so this has interfered, of course, with a lot of sporting events and that sort of stuff. So the new law passed 5-1. The majority of the city council actually decided that they're going to move it forward to the December 3rd meeting to move it up to 7 a.m. on Sunday mornings.
Woot, 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 woot. We are no longer a backwoods red state, it looks like. We're actually allowing our people to drink alcohol when they want to drink alcohol.
Backwoods red state. It's so funny. All right.
Well, it's so funny. You look at the Bible Belt, which is actually a term from like Texas up through Minnesota. And you look at the Bible Belt, and they've got all these weird laws that prevent you from drinking alcohol during certain times of the day. You can't buy it after 10 p.m. You can't buy it before 12 a.m. 12 p.m. It's like all these restrictions.
Well, some of those counties are completely dry counties. You can't even buy alcohol in any of them.
Living in Texas for years, it was funny because you'd go to a restaurant and they would have to check your ID. And if your ID said you lived in certain cities, they could serve you. And if it said you lived in other cities, they couldn't serve you alcohol. I'm like,
seriously? Even if you were in a different city?
Well, you were in a dry county, and you're in a dry county's restaurant. So you have to prove you're not from that county to be able to drink the alcohol.
I would think they couldn't serve it at all if it's a dry county. That's so gray.
It's just funny. It was just funny back then living in Texas, figuring out where and where I can't party as a teenager to get my alcohol.
That's exactly what you wanted to do as a teenager.
Get my alcohol as a teenager.
So as a teenager, you're probably not drinking in the restaurants, right? You're drinking with your friends under a bridge somewhere.
MD 2020 all the way. You know that stuff comes in like 20 to 25 different flavors?
No, I don't want to know that. I think I tried that once, and that was the last time ever. All right, let's talk about new home stats for the week of Friday the 13th in November 2020. The number of active listings down yet again at 1,021. Last week we're 1,120.
That's normal for this time of the year. We're getting towards Thanksgiving. Less listings are going up. Less job postings are going up. Less people are looking for homes and jobs.
Now this must have been that little lull that I was talking about probably a month ago. But we had this week sold properties only 1,127 compared to the prior week of 1,654 sold properties. And
I blame the election.
Yeah, I think too. I think it was a little bit of election lull in there.
Florida was undecided. Wait, no, Florida was decided. Florida decided within hours.
Yeah, I don't think that's even it. Like, people just sometimes get weird around the election year, and they actually decide to wait until after the election happens.
But it doesn't change anything.
That's the thing. Like, people are still going to buy and sell. You're right. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make sense.
No matter who gets elected, the country is not going to fall apart the next day.
Right.
Well,
right. But people do. It's historical.
Yeah.
You go back and look at the data. If it's an election year, people will tend to wait or put the brakes on to see what happens before they do anything.
Which is strange, because if you need a place to live, you need a place to live.
Or you're buying a second home, or you're relocating, whatever that is.
You need to pay more attention to what the Fed's doing with interest rates and what your counties and cities are doing with property taxes or impact fees.
You're right. That actually makes more sense than who's getting elected for the president.
Right.
And pending properties, these are up a little bit again, 1,506 compared to 1,499 last week. So that's, this number is still higher than our sold.
Yeah, it's still higher than sold.
So it points the direction we're moving.
And still higher than active.
It is.
So,
yep.
Yeah, so higher than sold, higher than active. What about our neighboring markets? Is Orlando making a rebound?
We didn't pull Orlando. We will just for you when you're ready, but we did not pull it. We'll have to do it like monthly or something.
Yeah. Where's Mimu?
We'll get them getting it ready.
Mimu needs to pull our monthly.
So let's chat about this. This is like your favorite time of year, right? Like 'tis the season for hurricane season.
Better than my favorite time of the year. This is my favorite year in the past 170 favorite times of years. Actually, no. This actually makes me sad.
It's a record-breaking year.
This makes me sad. This Theta forming as the 29th named storm and Iota forming today as the 30th named storm actually makes me sad because all of the talk about 350 parts per million carbon in the air moves us towards a mass extinction event. This hurricane season is proof that we're moving in that direction.
Okay, that's scary.
That makes me sad that we've had more names. But 2005, we had an Eta. So we had all the way up through Eta, which was a bad year for hurricanes. 2004 was a catastrophic year for hurricanes. That was Hurricane Charlie. But this year, in light of all of the stuff coming out on how the Earth's temperature is warming, how we've got less biodiversity, how our rainforests are turning into deserts, this storm season is proving that, and it actually makes me sad. Usually I'm really happy when we have our usual 15 to 20 named storms. But yeah, this season, we're just talking Adam, who's just joining us now.
So if it's getting warmer, this would mean that it's going to continue.
Yeah,
right?
if it's getting
year
warmer,
after year?
This hurricane season is going to be, and we're not through the season yet. I mean, in the past 10 years, we've had storms forming in December. I think it was the year that we had Irma, we actually had storms forming in January as part of that hurricane season.
Yeah, that was a long one.
That was 3 years ago. That was a long season. I'm not seeing this lighten up. And if you look at Iota, who's forming, they'll name it today, it's forming in the Gulf. It is following Ada's footsteps. Now, is it going to do the complete little loop-de-loop that Ada did? Is it going to go up towards New Orleans? Still too early to tell because it's that disorganized, but the stronger the storm gets, and that's why Adam and I last week were talking about Ada as an impact to Tampa, while everyone else was saying, no, it's going to New Orleans. No, the stronger the storm gets, the more likely it is going to hit Florida in this time of the year. So the same thing with Iota. Watch its strength. If they're saying it's going to be a hurricane, it's coming towards Florida. If they're saying it's going to stay tropical depression, tropical storm, it's heading towards Texas. And that's what you just have to watch with the storm. So, yeah, normally I'd be super excited about hurricanes, but Ada did cause, I mean, there were 40, 50 mile an hour sustained winds. I've got a picture of a street sign on my street. This is on my intersection street corner.
Completely leaning.
That got
looks like a car hit it.
No, that was storm damage. It's
it's flat.
If you call Leo, it's storm damage. If you call me, it's it already happened, right? You know?
Yeah, so
it's existing. It's wear and tear. If you call me, it's storm damage. If
that
you
is
call
not
Leo.
wear and tear.
That's wind damage.
That sign is like it's horizontal to the sidewalk. That was
Yeah, that's from the gust of winds. So we had 40, 50 mile an hour winds. I'm hearing about the horticulture damage out in St. Pete. I'm hearing about one of my inspectors. He lost power. He lost part of his roof. I mean, this was a storm to be reckoned with.
I had a little bit of issues with my roof too.
And you had issues with your roof.
Yeah, my roof's not that old
I
at
don't
all.
insure that roof.
Yeah,
though,
you
so
don't.
we're good.
You're right.
So
You
call
cannot.
Leo. Call Aaron. Make sure you get that handled.
He's like, call the right person. It's not me.
So basically, back to this hurricane season, we have broken a 170-year record. Which I don't know if we broke a 170-year record if we broke a record from 2005, but it depends how you want to skew your statistics.
Well, it says it's the 29th named storm breaking a record.
Well, they say this is the worst hurricane season on record, which is 170 years of tracking.
In terms of named storms.
In terms of named storms.
It's pretty much the worst if you live in New Orleans. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
New Orleans.
Well, I don't know. Katrina made a little impact.
Yeah,
there.
Katrina.
Yeah, they've got hit they got so many storms.
Yeah,
You
they
got to
do.
think you had Katrina, then you had Gustav. I mean, you've had some pretty bad storms in New Orleans. So we've had a lot of storms, but we haven't had a lot of strong storms. And I
Right.
think that's why we've had a lot of storms. Because when you have a really strong storm, it cools down everything. But when you don't really have a huge storm cooling everything, you need more little storms.
Do you mean huge as in surface area or huge as in strength?
Yes.
Guess what? That was so weird. Okay. Listen, if you had some damage or you had some storm talk, We want to hear from you. 888-404-1010. Give us a ring. Let us know if you saw anything from Ada. 888-404-1010. That is our on-air number, and Pat George will grab you and bring you on the air when we come back right after the break. Stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. Welcome back.
Welcome back. This is the Leo hour.
This is
on
the hurricane hour.
Tampa Home. No. This is the Leo hour where Leo gets to talk about home inspections.
Yes.
Actually, I have a question for you, Adam.
Okay, fire away.
So typically, when a named storm hits a geographic area, if you're in the process of getting insurance written,
right,
they want you to do roof certifications to make sure the roof is still there. Are they enacting that for this storm?
I am still waiting to get binding restrictions lifted. So when they get lifted,
like,
then we'll
Storm's
know,
fast, man.
Right?
Time to get with the program.
Yeah, no, they've been slow on this one for some reason.
Maybe because it is gone. It is here. It is gone.
Yeah. So I haven't been able to write anything all week. I've been like, even for your daughter's policy, I took all the information. We've answered all the questions. I just can't press the bind button.
We got a month, so I think you're okay.
I know.
So we don't know actually that if the insurance companies are gonna make us redo the 4 points. Then
it's gonna be specific to the insurance company.
Okay.
Citizens probably, yeah, because that's just how citizens be. But
is anybody even writing for Citizens?
Probably a lot of no loss statements. If you're already insured or something like that, or you're trying to get reinstated. But it is what it is. We'll take it one day at a time. That's all we can do at this point. I've been very frustrated this week, so hands are tied. Can't do anything.
You should be like taking a vacation if you can't find anything.
I still got a lot of questions. Still got a lot of questions to answer. So
Yeah, this has been a good week for Leo between Ada and between this.
Oh, you got a PlayStation.
PS5.
I also got a PS5.
Wow.
It came in the mail yesterday.
Proud of you.
In the mail, or at Amazon.
No. It came in. I didn't get mine through Amazon. I got mine through Walmart.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, my PS5 came. As everyone on this show knows, who's been following Leo for years, that I'm an avid gamer. Yesterday was a bit of a holiday.
Are you a first player role player type game, or what do you? You don't strike me as the Madden type guy.
No, I'm more of a third person action game.
He doesn't even own Madden, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm a third person action.
There you go.
And speaking of Madden,
So what is third person action for the person
It's
listening?
like Hello Kitty and that type of stuff.
Okay, so first person is how we see the world. First person is I'm looking straight ahead. I can only see what's straight ahead.
Got it.
I'm not a prey animal, so I can't see in all different
Right.
directions. Third person, the camera is
Behind you?
floating behind your character.
Got it.
So your character,
So you can see your character and still play
and see the surrounding environments. You can hide behind a chest-high wall, and you can see what's going on around. It's not as immersive as first person, but it makes for a cleaner gaming experience because you can see what's going on.
There's a whole thing in this world. There's people that get paid money to professionally game.
Yeah.
I do. I've watched those tournaments before.
You
And
would. You totally
That's why
would.
they get paid, is because Leo watches them.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I was sitting here where COVID restrictions have just got lifted. Breweries are open. I'm at a brewery called Berry House, which is in Ybor, and we're watching the Tetris World Championship.
Tetris World Championship.
Now, I could mess up some Tetris.
I tell you what, I don't think they have it anymore. Maybe they do. You would know. But before we had kids, my husband and I would play Tetris, and they had this one where it versed each other. So, if you removed, say, 1 or 2
that's
or
just
4
Tetris, and it slides over
to the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would do that all the time.
I like
Super
that.
competitive.
If they had a N64 Mario Kart professional league, I could probably mess with that too.
Yeah, well, the most recent Mario Kart kind of was sad to me, and because they took all those old tracks and they put them in the new graphics, and the tracks were super huge, and it took away from that fast-paced gaming experience.
Yeah.
And then when the tracks were so huge, you could just dodge everything pretty easily.
Yeah.
Never saw the game, so I can't comment
So
on it.
I know I could talk video games for hours. And
I
we
know.
could talk hurricanes for segments, but you want to talk home inspection.
Yeah, we want to talk about some of the common issues found on home inspections because we
I
get
can
this.
tell you what I find.
Yeah, we get this a lot. And so let's talk about this. This will be fun. We've got a list of, we could spew this, probably all three of us, right off the top of our head. But, and it's interesting, and you've changed your reports. That would be an interesting thing to talk about, too, because you guys used to highlight stuff in red and now not so much, because experience shows that kind of freaks out the buyer, even if it's a 20-cent part and it's a really simple fix.
Yeah, I mean,
it freaks the buyer
Well,
out.
are we talking 4 points or are we talking full home inspection?
Full home inspection.
There's an art to the home inspection because we're going into people's homes to point out everything wrong with it we call material, something that's going to cost $250 or more to replace. And sometimes we point out stuff that costs $250 or more to replace, but it's a 20-cent part that you could do yourself. So there's maintenance items. And most home inspection reports are filled with maintenance items. They're not filled with your house is going to fall down. You're going to die of mold inhalation. The termites are
well,
going to...
the deferred maintenance ones are the ones that are huge. I mean, there's like a lot. But I did look at an inspection like literally a couple days ago, and I think it had 3 different kinds of termites on it.
Do you want my insurance tip of the week right here while we're talking about the maintenance and stuff?
If it's timely.
Don't send your insurance agent the full home inspection.
No, never do that.
Oh yeah, don't.
Or your insurance is more specifically your insurance carrier. But if your insurance agent, is like me, once I see it, I can't unsee it, so I have I can't write it.
Or your lender, for that matter. So this is where we as agents protect you guys as buyers, because you have to think this home inspection is for you. This is your due diligence. It is your buyer beware. It is your insurance policy to make sure you're getting a good home or have the opportunity to walk away. That's the purpose of that. It is not for your lender. It is not for your insurance agent.
Yeah, we only
and
want
they
to
don't
see
need
the
to see it.
We only want to see the 4-point.
Your insurance company, not the agent.
Not
your
the
insurance
agent,
company
carrier.
is trying to look for an excuse not to write you a policy.
That's 100%.
The lender is looking
100%
for an
true.
excuse not to lend you money if they could end up with the property back. So
That's
don't
why they-
give
that's why-
them the home inspection report.
Yep.
Don't scare them. Don't say, well, on top of the person not being able to pay the mortgage, this home is going to fall apart.
You're right.
So let's talk about like what are the top 5 things that you see on almost every single home inspection report.
Major or minor?
Let's just go with the top 5 things. We'll get into major in a minute.
My low-hanging fruit that I love to find on every home is if you have a garage and then you've got that side door, that side walk-in and outdoor, there's always wood rot on that door.
On the bottom, yep.
On the bottom. That's the number one defect we find.
I would say 9 out of 10 homes have that.
Of course.
How much are doors to replace?
Well, you don't have to usually replace the whole door.
That could be like $750 to $1,000 to replace that door.
But the handyman usually, depending on the extent of the wood rot,
doors are expensive.
Well, they can go in the bottom and cut that wood part.
Yeah.
And then, reshim a new piece, sand it, paint it, and it looks like new. If you let it go too far, then you got to replace the whole door. But if it's minor wood rot at the bottom, you can do that. And the challenge for that is if you're getting a government loan, it's actually a type of termite. It's a wood decay fungi.
It's a fungi, not a termite.
Mm-hmm.
Termites are bugs. Fungi are just fun guys.
They flag that as a termite issue.
Yeah, WDO.
Yep. So essentially, that's a big one that if you're getting a government loan will always trip you up. So the reason why I mention this, because if you're a seller,
Thank you, Adam.
these things are really important, right?
I agree.
We encourage our sellers all the time to get pre-listing home inspections so that the buyer doesn't dig these things up.
I always love the pre-listing home inspection, especially when the market shifts. I mean, right now you have
An abundance
you
of
have your
buyers.
pick of the litter when it comes to Cruella DeVille's pick of the litter when it comes to the Dalmatian that is your home.
She wanted
Yes.
the whole litter, though. So
Yeah. So basically, you have your pick of the litter right now of the seller, but as that shifts, the pre-listing home inspection becomes how you defend your ask price. Because we've done this before. You do a pre-purchase home inspection. You say you're asking $275 for the home. The buyer comes back and says, well, we found this, and this in the home inspection report. Now we're going to say $250. Now you have to weigh, do I take this $250 or do I go back out to market and see what else I can get? If you have your pre-listing home inspection report, you can slam it back in their face saying, no, bad doggy. I already knew about this when I said $275.
We've used that as a negotiation tactic. If they've had a pre-listing home inspection, the seller can go back and mark up anything they've done and anything they're not going to do. If it's given to the buyer and they've seen that before they've done the inspection and they try to reinsert those on their inspection, we're like, no,
bad
it was
doggy.
in there.
Roll up the report, hit them on the nose,
Yep.
rub their face in it.
Man, you're hitting all the hits today. I love it.
Yeah,
You already
bad
knew
doggy.
this before you made the offer.
So that door rot's number one. Number two would probably be if your paint's more than 5 years old, we're going to find these micro cracks coming off the windows on the exterior. They're going to be not true diagonals. They're going to be kind of like a wavy diagonal down.
Probably if your home's more than 5 years old, I'm sure you find a lot of, speaking of cracks, probably a lot of cracks in tile and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we find the nominal nominal settlement, the building shrinkage. We find those. That's another very popular low-hanging fruit we find. With that one, it just needs to be recoated. It's a really simple fix.
Yeah, and they're not huge things. These are pretty simple, easy things to fix, but they get flagged on probably 9 out of 10 inspection reports. All right, what would you say number 3 is?
For the most common, I'm going to say, and if you have a home that's older than 15 years and they've done any sort of upgrades to the home, we're going to probably find an electrical outlet that has some cross polarity.
Yep,
Basically,
and
that's where I was going to get,
wires are flipped, right?
Yeah, wires are flipped. Maybe a breaker is double tapped because they ran out of space.
Love them double taps.
Love them double taps. So, wow, this hour is just flying by.
I know.
I know.
But yeah, those are the top 3 I think we're going to find.
Do you want to talk about 4 and 5 when we come back, or we're going to get into some of the major stuff?
Let's talk about the major stuff because once you pass those 3, the minor stuff is, light bulbs are out.
Yeah.
Like the most common. Yeah, but if you like what you hear and you need a home inspection or you need a post-storm inspection,
Call or text
813-377-2775.
What are we texting? Inspection?
Inspection.
Inspect this.
Inspect this to 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
We'll be back in a minute. Stick around.
And welcome back to Tampa Home Talk. No, I cannot talk that fast, Katrina, as the guy giving you all the legalese at the end of that commercial.
Well, Pat, don't they actually speed it up? They record it in regular voice and then speed it up, right, to fit it in the time? I think that's how it works.
That's our little secret.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Micro Machines guy from the 80s, he actually talked at that speed.
He did. He was really famous for that, too.
Yeah, he was really famous.
No, we have
for fast
hired
speed.
Alvin for that.
Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Right.
All right, so major issues in a home inspection before it gets sidebarred.
Okay, so major issues.
Yeah, what are major stuff?
Major stuff is we're going to see damage to your roof coupled with staining in the attic. Kind of like the photos that Katrina showed me of her own home
Thank you
after
for that.
Ada. At her own home after Ada. That's would have considered a major issue because now you're talking about major issues or systems that need to be replaced. So that's...
My roof is not even that old, and I have moisture barrier underlay on the whole roof.
Listen,
that is why
your roof,
you have wind damage. That's easier to prove wind damage when your roof is not that old and you've got the extra layers.
Your roof
of
could still be sitting at Home Depot and the insurance carrier is going to think it's too old. So don't,
Your
Well,
roof,
we
your
paid
roof
for that
could still
roof out
be
of
the
pocket,
shingles in the packet. You're going to say those were installed wrong.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Now, question for you before we get too far off of the roof topic, and we're talking about hurricanes and things that just happened. So let's say I got a roof, it's 3 years old, but let's say one shingle came off. Architectural though, so it's all layered. What would you do for your house if you're
It's just one shingle.
One shingle.
Now, we're talking one whole shingle or just one of those tabs?
One of the tabs.
I probably wouldn't do anything.
Okay.
I probably would not. If it's architectural, so there's 2 different types of shingles. One looks like barbecue bricks that are next to each other, and that's called 3 tabs. And there are 3 of those barbecue bricks per tab. And the other one's called the architectural or dimensional shingle, and that's got a whole bunch of, I call them flappies.
I say it's textured, but yeah.
Flappies.
the flappies.
They're called tabs, but they're flappies. So you have a
Little
bunch
flappy
of
doodles.
little bunch of little flappies all over each other. If you've got a good shingle, like you didn't go for the Tamco low end, basically the Tamco low end shingle has the flappies, but they're so big they might as well just be 3 tab. Mm-hmm. If you've got true Tamco or Owens Corning or Atlas or GAF shingles, and you've got a bunch of flaps, and a flap blows off, who cares? You've still got more flaps in that area. That's the whole purpose of the flaps, or the flappies. And it's just so you have extra layers of protection. Now, if you lost a whole shingle and your roof's only 3 years old, you can put a new shingle in its place.
Okay.
So what about, I'm getting questions from folks watching on Facebook. And yes, I did have some damage in the front. I've got what they call dead valley in the front of my house where the foyer entry is taller than the rest of the ceiling.
Very common.
And that one spot, like even after my roof was put on, I had it repaired and I'm still getting a spot.
So with Ada, you have to think that in addition to areas that had strong wind, we had a lot of rain. So when you have these dead valleys, and that's where your architect says, "Oh, this looks great," and your engineer cringes because they know that's where water's going to sit.
Yeah, so how do you fix that? Like, we can't redesign the house now.
You can't redesign the house now, but what you can do is you can use a better underlayment. You can use a thicker.
Get that SWR.
Yeah. Use a better underlayment. Use a thicker top sheet, a thicker modified minimum. Just make it better. So what ends up happening with Ada, we had so much rain, your dead valley filled with water, and your roof might not have actually leaked. It might have gone above your flashing at the sidewall, and the water got in there. And once the water gets in there, it goes underneath the roof system, and it's like a roof leak at that point. And that's what happens in a lot of the dead valleys in these storm events. Because it's not only the wind, it's the amount of rain and the time the rain happened. We had close to 24 hours of straight rain. We had 6 inches.
Heavy, too. Real heavy.
6 inches.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. We'll have to have you look at it, Leo, to see what you think.
I'd file a claim with
Really?
Tower Hill. Yeah, because I'm not your insurance agent.
If Adam says, you've come a long way,
So
Adam.
if it was your
You've
home,
come a long way.
If you were me and it was your home, you would file a claim.
I would see how much it costs first. But
That's what I was thinking.
here's the deal. When it comes to cat claims, this would be a catastrophic event. They don't hold those against you, right? So you're not gonna run into an issue later on where you're uninsurable because they look at it as
my
an act
roof
of
is
God.
not that old, and I wrote a check for my roof. I didn't get a claim. I mean, I paid for it out of my
No, I know, but but what you also need to double check is what your hurricane deductible is.
Yes,
right? Your hurricane
2.5%.
deductible might be like $6,000.
But here's where Ada is great. Ada was a tropical storm.
Some carriers, it's not hurricane. It's
So
not
are you telling me I have to
hurricane,
read the fine
it's-
print?
Yes. Some carriers, it's not hurricane. It's named storm.
Yeah, but most of them are hurricanes. So that difference between it being a hurricane.
This is where Aaron would be perfect.
Yeah, this is
in
where
reading
Aaron
it,
Donovan
yeah.
needs to come back to the show.
But what it was a Cat 1 when you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's you fight them.
They're
going
to spin it to their advantage as much as they can, and the other side of the table is going to spin it against them, and the engineer is going to be in the middle, just forensically saying, "This is
It
what
was a
happened."
newer roof.
Give them a new roof. I don't care. They need a new roof. The lawyers figure out if it's named storm, if the law and ordinance coverage, and all this other stuff. We just say, hey, this house needs a new roof.
The only thing that we've got, like the claims that or the people that have called in yesterday, it was a lot of flooding.
Yeah.
A lot of flooding in Pinellas County. So we had somebody that was on the beach. They got some damage. Got another person that's in South St. Pete. They had a lot of damage.
And that's a different policy. You need a flood policy.
You do, and try dealing with FEMA. Good luck with that.
Yeah. So, major defects.
What else?
Roof. The second one would be structure. We have a lot of sinkholes in this area. We have a lot of beautiful, large laurel oaks that die, and then that organic matter decays, so you end up with voids underneath your house. So structure becomes
Crawl
another.
spaces you can't get to with wavy floors. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we had one inspection that we were supposed to do on Wednesday because the crawl space already had 2 feet of standing water in it. And now we need a
Not
boat
good.
to get in there.
Oh.
So structures. So structure could be the most expensive thing. If you need underpinning, if you need grout injection,
that's
if you got
huge. That's
if you got an
structural.
old home and you need to have the crawl space piers replaced, the beams replaced, that can be really expensive. Roof expensive. The next thing we're going to talk about is AC.
Also expensive.
Also expensive. And major defects are things that are majorly expensive to fix. So let's say you had a roof leak and it wasn't treated, and now you've got mold that is growing inside, some with its mycotoxins coming into your house. And that gets into the duct system. You have to replace your entire AC system. So, and that's like, including the ducts, that's like $7 or $8 grand right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, as a home inspector, that's what you guys are looking for.
Yeah,
right?
we're
Is
looking
those
for
big
these
ticket
major
items, safety
ticket-
defects.
So in addition to these safety defects, these minor maintenance items, we're also looking for these major defects. Other major defects would be your electrical panel needs to be replaced because it's a certain brand that you can't get insurance on, or it's dangerously wired.
Yeah, why don't we chat about those? And that way, for the person listening, if you've got an older home, go outside, check your
Doesn't
panel
even
box.
have to be that old.
Doesn't have to be that old,
In
yeah.
the 80s, right?
No, I mean I've seen some that
Newer?
are
Yeah.
2000s where
Really?
they
All right, which brands are we seeing built in 2000?
Challenger.
Challenger.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically,
Or you get PEX plumbing. That's probably like 12 years old, but they're not going to take it because it's PEX.
no,
Stuff like
PEX
that.
is still acceptable.
If it's after like 2011 or something
That's
like
true.
that.
Yeah, because I think you're talking polybutylene at that point.
They'll say if it's so. I have certain carriers. If it's PEX, they won't take it unless it's newer than a certain
Yeah, I thought
year.
PEX
So
was
this
okay,
brings
and it
up an
was
interesting
polybutylene.
point that I think we should
Nobody likes
discuss.
polybutylene either.
Yeah.
There are things that are still allowed today in the Florida Building Code, but if they're done and they're in a 4-point report, the insurance company won't write the policy.
Right. Not getting insurance.
So these are tricky things, like you've replaced your kitchen sink or bathroom sink, and
Yep.
you've gone from a pedestal to a vanity.
Love it.
So now the piping's not going to line up correctly, so you use something called the flex drain. Flex drains are allowed by Florida Building Code, but insurance company sees one in a
Don't
4-point,
like 'em.
and they will not write the policy.
So that's a big disconnect. You and I were having
Yeah,
a
that is
big
a huge
debate about
that is a huge disconnect from the home inspectors to the insurance companies in that code allows it, standard operating procedures of home inspector allows it, insurance companies, and not even all the insurance companies, some of the insurance companies don't allow it. So
Why don't
it's
they
some,
like
yeah,
it?
it's
Like,
some.
what's the deal with it?
well, it's not a rigid connection. It flexes. It's a basically what they want is one solid pipe.
Solid CPVC.
But here you've got a piece in the middle that is added to make the other two pieces join together. So it's more prone to fail earlier. So you've got that one. You've got the other thing like you go to your, I get this a lot on beachside. On beachside, you open the electrical panel cover and you look at your breaker box and it looks like a Christmas tree in there. That is probably a Zinsco panel.
Yep.
And we have to tell you that that panel needs to be replaced because it's a risk for your house burning down, according to the insurance companies. And every
I've been
single
into properties that actually did have it, and it was like a shell. And I looked at the panel and I go, well, that's why it's in that condition.
But the sad part about that is you tell that to these people and they're like, I've owned this condo for
Yeah,
40 years
I've
and it
had 'em.
hasn't burned down. Sorry, your insurance company won't write insurance.
Yeah.
It's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that you can have insurance and they renew. How they don't check it after time, I don't know, or require a new 4-point because they would see it.
Well, so the insurance carrier. If you've been with the same carrier forever, they're not going to spend the money to come out. They can. It's in the contract. Every carrier reserves the right to come inspect your property at any time.
And now more of them are doing that.
And now more of them are doing it. And I have carriers where they're going to do their own because they don't. No offense to you, they don't trust the inspector. Right?
None taken.
Or where we get a wind mitigation and I'm putting in all the information on the wind mitigation into the quote. If there's not the photographic evidence of what's there, they're taking off the credits.
So, question
State Farm
for you.
is the worst on that because I have gotten
State
into
Farm's not even really
fights.
insuring anything.
Yeah, I've gotten into fights with their underwriters. They're like, well, I can't tell from the photo. And I'll take the photo and I'll blow it up. And they're like, I still can't tell from the photo. And I'll draw a huge circle around it. And then I'll finally call them out. I mean, have you ever crawled through a 150-degree attic to get to the smallest piece of the roof system
Nope.
to get you a photo that a blind man can see because I've blown it up 7,000% for you to see the clip, and you still say you can't see it.
But we pay our claims.
Yeah. State Farm is the worst when it comes to getting a policy written, and I know
They don't even really insure anything here in Florida. I mean, we don't.
because they can't get that through the underwriters.
Well, no, they're just not insuring it. They're
There's
not.
and
And I
Adam's
have
laughing because
everything.
he knows I've gone through this. I have
It's
to
true.
take photos out of our windmill
I
report.
have everything with State Farm.
I
except
have
for
to
my
blow
house.
it up 7,000% and draw a circle around it and send it back to them.
Yeah, they're not ones we would refer to. Those big companies, we just don't. There's many reasons we could tell you why. But if you want to get a real insurance quote from many different carriers that will equally pay a claim if you have an issue, call or text 813-377-2775. Adam will give you an estimate and hook you up. 813-377.
Text insure this.
Insure this instead of inspect this.
813-377-2775. Leo, when we come back, let's name off those panels that are faulty, shall we? And
Challenger,
then,
Zinsco, Federal Pacific, Sylvania. Thank you.
I guess that wasn't there another one?
And we're done.
And we're done.
That's it. All right. More when we come back. Stick around.
good morning. Welcome back. I did one of those drop the microphone and leave things during the break when we just named panels.
Yeah, you did.
Well, we spent a lot of time.
Got it. Boom.
We spent a lot of time on panels, and I know we got more questions.
How much is a panel to replace typically?
$1,800.
Yeah.
It's better than a roof.
Yeah,
on
roofs
AC.
are like anywhere between $7,500 and $10,000.
Or a plumbing
Big ticket
system.
items,
Big ticket items.
which we're going to talk about next, all about roofing.
Another big ticket item is, let's say you have an older home. We have copper plumbing or galvanized plumbing. The copper plumbing starts to fail around 40 years. Copper stopped being used primarily around 40 years ago. So copper plumbing is becoming the next insurance hotbed item on things they don't like to see. Because when you have to replace your copper plumbing, which is in the slab, you've now got to run new plumbing through the attic. So you have to reconfigure your plumbing, and that's about $6,000 to $8,000.
I was like, that's not cheap.
At least.
Yeah, at
That's
least.
not cheap.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then in Heavy Bridge you have galvanized. Now I'm going to tell you something that's scary.
Yeah.
Insurance companies don't like galvanized plumbing because it means it's about 50, 60 years old. Leo doesn't like galvanized plumbing because basically it's lead pipes with a galvanized coating. So when your galvanized plumbing starts to get old and that galvanized coating starts to leave, you are drinking lead.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, that's some trivia for you. So if you have an older home, I strongly urge you to remove your galvanized plumbing, not because the insurance company is trying to prevent a leak. I'm trying to prevent you from getting dementia.
There you go.
Yeah, don't drink the lead.
Don't drink lead. Not good for you.
All right, so what else? What do you think the most common thing is that surprises people in a home inspection, but it's very common for you, or you see it regularly, or it's not that big of a deal?
I would say in the kitchens and bathrooms, you're supposed to have an outlet called a GFCI outlet, and it's one where if you drop the potato masher into the pot of boiling water, or you drop your hair dryer into the sink, the outlet's supposed to trip off. Now,
Yep, some lovely engineer created those after the 80s when that was like the big thing. They were
people
showing
electrocuting
toasters going in the
themselves.
water.
Yeah, toasters in the bathtub. The picture with
Yeah.
the toast. Yeah. So I heard actually
You don't need toast in the bathtub, by the way.
Hair dryer.
The only toast you need in the bathtub is with a wine glass. Ding. So I heard from Pat during the break that actually a death during Hurricane Ada was caused because one of those outlets didn't function properly, and someone's garage flooded, and there was a power tool on the ground, and the outlet didn't trip, so that person got electrocuted.
So what about, can those be daisy chained? Because we've seen that before too
yeah,
on
definitely.
inspections. And so...
What's a daisy chain?
Yeah,
For
talk
those
about
out there
that because
So-
sometimes people think every single outlet in the kitchen needs to have it. But
Well,
that's,
every single kitchen in the outlet has it because
Every kitchen in the outlet?
that.
every single outlet in the kitchen has it because if they're all in one circuit and that circuit trips, it shuts the whole circuit off, everything downstream. So what ends up happening is in the kitchen, you might only have one with the little reset button, but you put your outlet tester and the one next to it, you hit the test button, which simulates the fault, it's going to pop the breaker. Where it gets annoying to an inspector is when the bathrooms are like that. So you have two bathrooms, one on the first floor, one on the second. I put the outlet tester in, I hit the button, I hear the pop, and I gotta find the thing to reset. So I used to waste a lot of time hunting for the daisy chained GFCI so I could reset it and test more outlets.
And so that's really one of those things that's not super expensive to repair.
Or
I mean,
replace.
it's really simple.
I mean, if you want to upgrade your outlet from a normal to a GFCI, the outlet materials is about $12. You can do it yourself. It's fairly easy to do. I always recommend you hire an electrician.
Right. Anything electrical plumbing.
But I mean, you can get them done for like $50 a pop from an electrician if you have a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's really inexpensive, but it's a big deal. Like
It
that
can save
'cause
your
that's-
life.
I mean, with that story Pat George told us, that's likely what happened. Wouldn't you say?
Now, would you typically have a GFCI in the garage?
Yeah, you're supposed to.
So what area?
So from 1994 to 2004, the Electrical Building Code upgraded itself on where these outlets were required. It started with just having them on the outside. So garage would have been the first level.
Gotcha.
It ended with them in the kitchen. So so you basically, between 94 and 2004, you needed them on exterior, you needed them in the laundry room, you needed them in the bathrooms, then you needed them in the kitchen. So yeah,
And a lot of building code stuff happened between then too, because that's when they did that's when all the roofs started getting changed.
Well, that was Andrew, which is 92. That really changed the building code as far as how roofs. And now we're going through a major change in the 2020 building code when it comes to roofing.
What's happening with that?
They are changing how and what type of underlayment you put on. It is a major code change. It is probably
like what?
So
What are they moving from and to?
So basically, it used to be you can put felt down, or you can put a synthetic layer down, which is basically.
Is that the peel and stick?
Well, no, the peel and stick is a synthetic peel and stick. It's something that sticks to the roof deck. The synthetic is something you still have to nail down.
Got it.
It's got some of the same material, but it's the application's different. So those were your three current methods. Your new method is they really note that once water gets into a roof system, it's going through the joints of the plywood. It's going through the joints of the OSB. That's where the leaks are materializing on the inside. So the new code is trying to protect that by making you tape those joints with flashing tape or peel and stick, or using 2 layers of underlayment. If you're not going to put something that's going to stick to the deck, you have to now put 2 layers of underlayment down. So roof prices should go up about $150 every 100 square feet.
Oh, that's good.
Whew.
Yeah, because that's just the new code, and that code goes into effect in 45 days.
Really?
Yeah, so the way that we're currently roofing now, and then as a firm, we used to be able to help people with something called an after-the-fact permit. Because of the new changes in the building code, because of Hurricane Irma, we can no longer assist people with after-the-fact permits, because I guarantee you, if it was built pre-2020 building code, it's not going to meet the 2020 building code. There are a lot of changes happening because of Hurricane Irma in the new building code to make insurance companies happier.
So because of those codes, I imagine they push a lot of the liability back on the inspector, even though it may have been done correct at the time it was done.
Well, no. If it was built correct to the code, you only have to build your house to the code that was in effect at the time your house was built.
But if you didn't get a permit,
But if you didn't get a permit, you have to be at current code. So yeah, after the fact, the business of after the fact permits, and we hate after the fact permits, but our ability to do them disappears in 45 days, just because we know it's not going to meet current code.
Man, it's gonna be expensive to build a house next year, because I think they're going up on impact fees in our area at least.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Hence, back to what I've said all along, it's going to get more and more expensive to live in Tampa.
Yeah, well, you know.
The new prices rise, so do the
the
resales.
insurance rates aren't going to go down anytime soon either. So
No, the codes get stricter, the forms get stricter, their rates go up, and their denials go up.
I have to share this really quick because we're out of time, but I took a call yesterday from somebody moving from California, and I'm like, so what's going on? Like, what's making you want to move here? And he's like, yeah, we just want to move to a red state. Like, we're tired of the political climate, and yeah, we're done. We're going to move in 6 to 9 months. I'm like, all right, welcome, and that's why we're not getting
Leo
cheaper.
said on the opening that we are not a backwoods state anymore.
We're not. All right, stick around. We'll be back for hour number 2, all about roofing with West Edwards. Back in just a moment. Stick around.